The all-new Infiniti Q30, the first premium compact car from Infiniti, is today on Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars with Thomas. Very, very exciting because actually it's the first time Infiniti is doing that. And also, how does it compare to the competitors? How does it compare to the A-Class? Because it sits on the platform of the A-Class. Powertrain and engine is also delivered by Mercedes. What have they done differently with the car? We're going to take a detailed look on the exterior, interior and the driving experience. And we're going to talk also a little bit about Infiniti in general. What's their current strategy? Where are they actually heading to? So it's a very interesting background story behind this car as well. Let's go. First of all, a general overview. Infiniti has in the first 9 months of 2015 sold about 150,000 cars worldwide, so still a quite small manufacturer. And 100,000 of that, so 2/3, all in the US. And that is the main market there, especially with the Q50, with the mid-size sedan. The brand itself was kind of a US idea, was born at the division there, but at the headquarters is in Hong Kong. And you know, the mother company, Nissan, is in Japan. So that's kind of the basic setup. Infiniti is not available in Japan. All the cars are, not all the cars, for example, the Q70 as Nissan Fuga, also the Q50 and the QX50 are sold there, but under the Nissan brand. And everywhere else, you get really the Infiniti cars. In Europe, they are kind of weak still, especially in Germany. It's very hard to keep up with Audi, BMW and Mercedes because you cannot get that easily into the business fleets. This year now, the Q30, the compact premium car, should especially tackle Europe because they want to say, if we can compete with that one in the European market, this will be a showcase actually for us that we can do it worldwide. It will also be sold in the US, of course, but you know, the compact class segment is not the most important in the US, more importantly in Europe for sure. But in general, worldwide, especially also when you take China into account, the premium car segment in general will be rising about next year about 3%, but the compact premium car segment, especially because in China a lot of customers come there from, will rise about 9%, so way stronger. So the compact premium class segment will be one of the most important segments coming on, for example, for a manufacturer like Infiniti. And that's why they did this car right now. Starting with the exterior design in the front, it's a really dramatic and sensual exterior design that they wanted to do completely different from any other manufacturers. And they have definitely achieved that. I think a very stunning design for sure. Of course, this design is also polarizing because if you're rather keen on some conservative design, that one is nothing for you. Here you really want to differentiate yourself towards others. And especially because they took the engine, powertrain, a lot of other stuff we also see in the interior from the A-Class. They want to say, okay, we want to change as much as we can from our own, from the A-Class then. And from the exterior, they have definitely achieved that. This so-called double arch grille, now with kind of three-dimensional looking front grille comes in here. Also a very nice idea. And actually these twinkling eyes, they are inspired by human eyes themselves, and some of the designers of Infiniti say they are getting their inspirations, for example, from sculptures, also from art, and some of them even say they would get inspiration from poetry. I'm not sure how this actually should work, but it sounds great. This one here is the Q30S, the sports version, top trim level, and that one has a stronger bumper in the lower part. I can also soon show you the difference to the premium version, also a high trim level, but where the lower part is a little bit different. Also in this sports setup, we get bigger rims here, in this case 19-inch, and they fit very well to the graphite gray of this car. I will soon also show you all of the different colors that are available for this car. Actually quite spectacular colors from color to color. And you can also have a wide variety of alloy picks, and I think there's even one set of them I find more beautiful than that one. I will soon show you, then also you'll put me in the comments which one would you actually go for. The side profile is also spectacular. The dropping line which divides here the design in light and shadow is right at the door handles, but it's not continuing all the way here just undisturbed, because you know it has some kind of shape form in itself, and also the lower part, you know, this one here is also quite strong. So again, this asymmetric scheme, you know, not just one clear line. We all see different design elements, and that provokes attention again. And I think it does polarize, yes, but I think it's still a beautiful concept. Also, when some nice ideas here with this C form here, which is carried over here again. So they made something unique here then as well. What is also unique in comparison to the, let's call it sister, the A-Class, is the length, 4 meters 42, and that is 13 centimeters more than the A-Class, which is 4 meters 29. It's not that the wheelbase is different, about 2 meters 70. Not that you have so many differences in the interior space. It's more really like you have different overhangs, because they have kind of this, you know, bulky design also here a little bit. And then they use a little bit more space and length in the front and the rear as well. The spectacular design continues here at the rear. Definitely the most unique car in the compact segment you can get. It's kind of a flat rear window, but that's not too bad for the visibility. We will also see later on. A little bit reminded me of the former Volvo C30, by the way, or what do you think? Especially in the sports version, we got the shiny, glossy elements here. It's also in this kind of comp mesh, and that is also from high-class material, because you don't have this just matte black plastic. You also got this glossy finishing above that. Those ones here are fake, those are just covers. The real exhaust pipes are way in there for the 2-liter turbo engine. And it says here the Q30S, the sport version. This is always combined then with the 2-liter turbo with about 210 horsepower. And also always combined with all-wheel drive, AWD. And that helps you to get the power on the ground. It is not really necessary, but of course it's nice to have. Usually the car is just predominantly front wheel driven, and you got different options you can actually combine. And but we go more into detail about that when the engine is first. First of all, I want to hear your what you think about this rear, because there are so many different elements from the design. You can always discover something new. As I said, this is my preferred engine, the 2-liter turbo with 210 horsepower, always combined with all-wheel drive and the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. However, standard with the smaller engines is the 6-speed manual gearbox. And what else we have? We also have a 1.6-liter petrol engine, and then a 2.2-liter diesel as the top diesel, and a 1.5-liter diesel. The 1.5-liter diesel is built by Nissan themselves, and all of the other engines are delivered by Daimler. And so also Daimler is profiting from this cooperation, because they again get the smaller diesel, and they can also share, of course, some other know-how than in this whole Daimler-Nissan cooperation. So it's a very interesting cooperation, and also a very big thing inside the automotive industry overall. However, the whole car gets built in Sunderland at the Nissan plant. They have invested a lot of money there in Great Britain. That's also the place where the cars for the worldwide market will be built in. So also if you buy this car here in the US, you will still get it from the Sunderland plant in Great Britain. Talking about the pricing, in Germany, for example, this car here starts at 24,000 euros. For a compact premium vehicle, that's actually a pretty good deal. And Infiniti is known for that they usually include more serial equipment in their cars than the other competitors. Of course, it always depends on how much discount you actually get at your dealer. But they also checked out the pricing that you cannot generally say it is, for example, cheaper than an A-Class, because in the higher trim level, here, for example, the Q30S, which could be compared to an A250 Sport, then again it's a little bit more expensive. So this very car as it stands here right now, about 42,000 euros, whereas an A250 Sport would be at 37,000 euros. So I think, well, it's not really about the price, if it's more expensive or less expensive than the Mercedes or than other competitors. First of all, it depends on which discount you get actually at the dealer then, and of course, is it your design? I think that's the major aspect with this car here. Are you really totally in love with the design, or do you hate it? The car is polarizing, and I really love that about cars when they are polarizing and not, you know, some other boring new stuff. This one here is very crucial for the whole brand. And to show you a different exterior car, this is how the car looks in white. And you can also see the difference in the trim level. This is not the S trim level, so the lower bumpers are not as strong. So this is the premium trim level here on the exterior. The rims here are also in the B color scheme, but just 18-inch. But I think 18-inch is still quite beautiful for this car. In one last shot from the rear. And the rim overview, 19-inch from the sports version. Then 18-inch, that one here. Or two color, 18-inch. Well, let's see, 3 color with the red contrast, 18-inch. And the very, very standard one with lowest trim level, this is just a cover for the steel wheel. And those ones are the available colors, magnetic red, and then pretty new color, liquid copper. This is also the kind of launch color. Then chestnut bronze, another red right here. Then we have glossy black, Malbec black, this is a little bit brighter. Then ink blue, that would, I think, my favorite color. Then we got graphite shadow, this is the one from the sports version we were driving. Blade silver, satin silver, a little bit matte, and moonlight white. This is the one we've shown you as well in a static way. Also powered by Mercedes, kind of light and good quality. When I close the car, mirrors flip in automatically, but you hear the electric motor is actually quite loud for those mirrors. When I open the door again, just first open the car, then when I open the door, they come out again. Let's take a first look inside the interior. If you look at the inside of the doors, we got the Q30 Sport version, and I really love that feature. Alcantara at the inside of the doors. It looks so worthy and also feels worthy. Best solution there is. Of course, those buttons here, it starts right here. Those are original Mercedes, definitely from the A-Class and also from other models. Then if we continue on to the interior, you see the steering wheel also has the A-Class buttons, but it also says it's the same kind of quality also for turning indicators and stuff. Sport, Q30 Sport version means we also have a flattened and steering wheel. I really like that. And the special sport seats, they have an Alcantara surface on the inside and leather red or faux leather on the outside. Best solution there is. And you see the form of the sport seats is also different with the integrated headrest. We'll also soon show you a special about that one to see how the difference actually to the normal seat form. And I'll get inside. It's actually quite easy entry because the car sits higher, and I've told you earlier, it's between the height between the normal hatch, like for example the Mercedes A-Class, then comes this one, the Q30, then comes the crossover, for example Mercedes GLA, so this one is kind of in between, but I think it's a good compromise for the seating height. This is with the sport seats here, the manual option to put the seat higher and lower, and also you can put the front end here higher and lower, this angle that is possible, and of course you can change the back of the seat, the angle about this one. You see, for tall people it is too short here a little bit from the seating area, and also the head restraint is not really that high, so if you're maybe close to 190 in meters, I would recommend you to go for the comfort seat form. We'll also soon show you that one, and not for the sport seat form. The sport seat, of course, just from the visual side, they look amazing. And they got this great mix here of Alcantara on the inside and foil on the outside. Actually the best surface solution, but not the best form solution. But you also get cloth seats from the standard equipment, at least in Europe. I've heard that in Northern America they only delivered it with a higher trimmer, so that is maybe then the sport version the best solution for you in this case. And that's it from the co-driver side. The positive thing is you can go far back here with the co-driver seat, and that's very comfortable. Then you have really a lot of space, also enough headroom, even if you have a panoramic roof inbuilt. That kind of headroom with me with 1.86 m in height. However, one problem is because you cannot adjust the height of the seat. That if you have someone in the back of the car, because as it would be now, no one could sit in the back. If you want maybe a tall person sit in the back of the car, you have to go in to the front with the front seat, and then you actually do have some problems with your headroom here. And electronically, it can be adjusted if you have the electronic options. That's at the inside of the doors, and I'll also soon show you that one. So you have to think about it. If you have really tall people in the back driving all the time, then it might be better also to have the electronic adjustment, because then you can also adjust the height of the seat. But when you're usually going with two people, then it's also no problem, because a co-driver can use all the space that you have behind here in the back. And then it's also kind of comfortable and also kind of spacious. And that's the driver's point of view. The steering wheel, very compact, nice white contour stitches from the inside. Instruments, rather classical way. We know them also from Mercedes with the digital screen on the inside. You can see everything there. And from our test rides with a 2-liter turbo engine with about 210 horsepower, we had about 10 liters of consumption. With sporty riding, you can also score 9. That would also be possible. The dashboard is also from high quality, no doubt, and this one is also from faux leather here. And then you see that the GPS screen, this is actually really different from the A-Class. In the A-Class it's kind of attached, and here it is integrated. That is the main difference. And also another difference is this one is also a touchscreen, so you can use it as a touchscreen as well. And there comes another hand magically, and you can, for example, use it right here to go to the GPS menu, but you can also go to the main menu with a middle control screen. Then you have the separate apps. You can either use them with a central knob, or you can also use your hand again to go on the GPS, or for example to the phone again, phone or apps. Here, do the adjustment. You can, for example, also change the audio options then. And so you have actually both possibilities to go with a touchscreen and also with the central control knob. You don't have that with the A-Class. This is a central control knob. You can zoom in or zoom out like that, for example, and press OK to choose something on the menu. But actually what is also sort of strange, you said, okay, it's a little bit loose here, the knob, but actually it is loose for purpose, because you can move up and down to, you see it making some strange noises then, but then you can move around in the map with that one. And that one here is a nice shortcut, because when you press this one, you can easily adjust the brightness of the display. It's a very good solution. I mean, nowadays it doesn't make such a difference, but at night it's very important. However, the overall visualization, I mean, it's good. You have a touchscreen as well. That's when it's integrated, it's better than the A-Class, but the software is way worse than in the A-Class. Mercedes has figured out that one better. The GPS, for example, is also not that modern, just from the basic perspective, and also later on when we drive, you'll see that it also, well, doesn't work that well. Middle part of the console is like this, still with a CD changer. And then the climate unit is also in the lower part here. Everything again from good quality basically, but I also tend to criticize that with A or B class from Mercedes. It's a little bit too low, and too low for the driver to control it while driving, I think. And storage spaces at the inside of the doors, you see there's space for a bottle of water and some other stuff. Then we got the standard glove box, which is sliding down quite smoothly. Also, well, reasonable space in there. Then there's a small space in front of the temperature unit with 2 USB slots. Then we continue on with 2 beverage holders here, also quite good size, but you cannot really adjust them, just keeping at one size. And then below the armrest is even, well, also again reasonable space, so they have used it very well, and the 12-volt power supply is hidden there as well. The first mid-review of this cockpit is you get a very high quality of materials, not only the stuff that was carried out actually from Mercedes, because then all of the body panels were actually exchanged and put by Infiniti, and I think the build quality is even higher than in the A-Class. For example, you know, here in the sport version you got also the Alcantara surface here for the middle armrest. That is really so cool. By the way, from standard equipment you always got an air conditioning with it, and then you have the different levels, Q30 standard, then it's premium, premium tech, and finally the sport version. But you know, sport and premium are kind of top trim at the same time. And then there are also additional package like some City Black package that's all about the styling then in general. The basic visual significance here is that we all got it asymmetric. We don't have such horizontal lines that we use, for example, on German vehicles. And I think they've done a really beautiful job here, especially with the Alcantara surface here and the white contrast stitches at the dashboard. And you see those are all kind of central lines, and it's kind of really an artistic job and one of the best interiors I think we have seen lately. Now I'll test the rear compartment. We are still in the compact segment, of course, and we got the sport seats mounted, and the seat is I would be driving, and you see, well, there isn't too much space left really. It's hardly fitting with the knee space here. If the driver would be a little bit slimmer, maybe not that tall, that could actually work then. Also from the headroom, well, you know, we have a panoramic roof in here, which you cannot open, whereas in the A-Class you can pick fixed roof, panoramic roof with a slider, and the one you can open. Here it's only fixed roof or the one with a slider, not the one where you can open, because they have to save at some point, save some options. They cannot offer you all the options that, for example, Mercedes has with a bigger budget, so they have to kind of select the stuff. But what is actually quite good is we got, you know, behind the panoramic roof, if you lay back a little bit, it's going steep up a little bit, and then you have actually enough space for your head. Again, I got this kind of space above my head still, so headspace wise, it does actually still work, but not the most plenty space here in the rear, of course. Then you should probably use, well, a car from a segment above. For adults, well, not the best way, but it's theoretically still does work then. But we have also seen other compact cars which offer a little bit more space here. However, as for quality and surfaces here, even in the rear, Alcantara surface at the inside of the doors, and also the styling of the seats here in the rear is just superb. What about the loading compartment? You know, there's a very dramatic design on the outside, and that often leads to little space on the inside. But here it's actually quite okay. You see, you lose some space in height, but most of the time it's not really used, and so it's actually quite reasonable. You see, got good dimensions here in the rear. Behind that one is, by the way, the subwoofer from the Bose sound system, so no real replacement tire. And well, there's no possibility to flip some seats from the rear, but you can actually do it from the passenger compartment. And then you can see how that actually works. It's a 1/3, 2/3 split. And this one, by the way, is some blanket that is attached here. But I can also show you the other 2/3 split here as well. Some workout again. And there it is. And there's an even flat loading area here. so you can use that one very well. There was recently a question as well, if you can also use the, well, that's hard, fixedly attached really. So if you can really use the front seat here also to load something that's even longer, that is also a good question, and quite often it also depends on the very seat you have ordered. But let's see how much in the front this one actually goes. What is the maximum level, or if it's going on. No, that's the maximum level. So doesn't work here with a sport seat. I have to try it out later, maybe again with another seat, and I can maybe leave that one in the comments. But that's actually not a real good possibility, so you have to go with the back seats down, and that's kind of it also lengthwise. And to show you a different interior trim, this is here now with bright leather, but you know, this gets stained quite early, and I would definitely go with the Alcantara version. But these ones are also the other seats as for the form. We have the sports seats in our test vehicle, and this one here is the standard seat just from the form. And you see the seating area is kind of the same, but upright there you got a separated head restraint, and also the shoulder region is rather open. You got more space there, and I would, well, I rather recommend this kind of seat from the form, not from the surface, because it's more comfortable than the sports seat. And here we go from the cockpit perspective. And if you have the electric seats ordered, they can be adjusted right there at the inside of the doors. And that's the rear compartment in the bright color. And here you can compare it directly. The seat form on the lower part, on the seating part, is the same with the sports seat and the comfort seat. And the upper part is then different. Integrated head restraint and also a little bit firmer at the shoulders, and more space on the right with the comfort seat. And what is also interesting, you know, this is here real white Napa leather, so-called. So real animal skin. And if you feel it and look at it, and then check out the leatherette, the faux leather with the Alcantara combination, you cannot see a difference visually, and you also cannot feel any difference. So this again proof you don't need the real stuff. And let me test it in the direct comparison. Here again, as I said earlier, the seating area in the lower part is a little bit short for tall people, and also the head restraint is kind of low again for tall people. It was the same in an A-class facelift. However, in the A-class you could lengthen the lower area, but not the upper part. And also in the A-class I said I do prefer the non-sport seats, because especially for tall people I cannot really recommend it. You can really just see it with your own eyes that this one is better suitable for tall people. I compare it right now. Yeah, this feels way more relaxed and I have more space for my shoulders. I think maybe if you kind of a little bit slimmer and shorter, that would then very well work, especially if you like having a lot of shoulder support. But here I can adjust the head restraint and just have, you know, more comfort in everyday riding. But you don't have kind of the only choice between the sport seats with Alcantara and leatherette and the real animal skin. Of course, the standard seats that also have this kind of form just have cloth as a surface, so that's also no problem to get these ones. Start our test ride here today in Lisbon. Special greetings again to all the Portuguese viewers. I know you are always very proud when we're here in your country doing our videos, so and thanks for watching to you as well. Yeah, the traffic in Lisbon can sometimes be a little bit crazy, but that's also a very important factor about such a compact car, that you can still remain very calm here even when some traffic situation happen. And I was starting to go down a pavement, for example, and well, didn't have any problem with it because we had a higher ground clearance, and for such tricky pavement situations that's also a good thing actually, because you don't need to go, oh, do I maybe hit the ground or something like that. And we got the 2-liter turbo engine here with about 210 horsepower. Generally recommend that engine. It's the one that is most pleasing to me. You don't really need a diesel in a compact car, although Infiniti is awaiting that the 1.5-liter diesel, that one will actually be the most successful engine? Well, we'll see. Just in city traffic, this one here is actually very silent from the engine, and they have really worked on the sound insulation. The 2.2 liter diesel has even active noise cancellation. That's very unique. And also the A-Class doesn't have that one. And now when we accelerate here on the motorway, we're going uphill. Yeah, I don't really get the biggest power boost, but with this petrol engine here, you get enough power reserve also to do some motor riding. That's absolutely no problem then. And the road is not really even here on the motorway, so it gets a little bit louder. Well, is it the best sound insulation? I think at the moment not. I think it's actually quite loud, but it might also have something to do with the road surface, so we'll keep an eye on that, if that will actually change according to the change of the road surface then. We can also test the cruise control, setting it just to 100 kilometers an hour now. Don't have the adaptive one here, but the visual display in the middle, that also reminds of the A-Class. Again, I think it is basically a good thing, because those are all the stuff you actually know from Mercedes, and you know they work very well and are also high class in the build quality. So they really are lucky that they can use that kind of stuff. I'm really satisfied with the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. You know, this turbo engine we got here, the 2-liter turbo, is always combined with the dual clutch transmission, and that one shifts up so smoothly, and they have tuned it onto their special purposes of Infiniti. So that's also a difference than to the A-Class again. If you talk about the steering, that is also a little bit different to the one of the A-Class. Let's do a lane change here, for example, quite a quick one. Actually nice direct steering, also a little bit progressive, but I can show you later on when we do some sharper corner rides. To me, it could be a little bit more progressive even, so it's not as progressive as, for example, some of the Volkswagen Corporation steering wheels, but it's always a matter of how you tune that ratio really. Looking at the GPS at the moment, I've told you already, it's a different software. I like it really that it's integrated and not kind of this attached as well the A-Class. But if you look at the software, you really have to get used to it, because, for example, the right screen, that is a little bit small on where you're actually heading to, and on the left screen you see where you have to turn exactly like in detail. And sometimes I tend to miss something of those commands, so I have experienced other GPS softwares where I was more satisfied with directly, without learning about the GPS, realizing when I have to go where, and you know, hitting exactly the road I want to have. Also the visual display, well, could be a little bit more modern, also just visual wise. So now it gets again tricky here in the Portuguese traffic, but with this kind of engine you always have nice performance. Go slow again. Maybe I can also test the other modes, because at the moment we're in the normal D, the driving mode. 2 kilometers. Let's see. Yeah, it was like again situation where I didn't really know where to go. Therefore, also my co-driver raised her hand in this case.
But here we have to turn here.
Yeah, that's again what I was talking about. But then we can try out that corner here very fast. What's on going at 70 kilometers an hour. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, you get good support, a little bit of tilting of the car because it sits a little bit higher, but you have a very good control of the steering, definitely. So they figured out that one pretty well. That was again tricky situation. Yeah, I'm really not too keen on the GPS actually. So with a lot of situations where it was rather confusing when to turn where actually. So really can't recommend the GPS software. But as you've probably seen, it's good to have this good performance engine, because then if you really need the performance to accelerate out, you always have it. That was the D mode actually, and let's go to the sport mode. Then the RPMs turn a little bit higher, and the shifting process has also been changed then. And if you want to have a little bit more performance, and because sometimes it may happen that the RPMs get a little bit too low, and then if you're in the sport mode, let's for example do a test, let's let's for example say 70 kilometers an hour till 100. Okay, I'm at 70 kilometers an hour now and pushing on the throttle very hard. 100. Yeah. You maybe also heard the engine here now. It's not the most super sporty sound, and that one is for example also better with the A250 Sport from the A-Class, which will be a close competitor to this very Q30S. Then the A-Class leads it in sound, definitely. But you know, it's actually quite okay. And the performance again, also for overtaking someone on the motorway, that's also pretty much fine. If you go some right and left from the steering wheel driving, you see how fast and direct the response is. That is really good, that you have a very good feeling for the car at all times. About the long-term riding support, we've talked about it earlier. They have introduced these seats where you have kind of a little lumbar support in the standard position, and that is supposed to help you on the long-term riding comfort, that you don't get this back fatigue when you're driving more than half an hour or maybe an hour or longer. And so far that actually does work, I must say. You know, I prefer actually, as I said earlier, the non-sport seat, the comfort seats, because especially for taller people, they offer just, you know, more space to move around. But you know, I don't have any back pain so far, and so far I'm quite satisfied with the seat. And also this little bit higher seating position also helps you with the long-term riding comfort, because especially for tall people it's always more comfortable to have a little bit upright seating position, more relaxed also in your back then. And I think it's a quite interesting approach that they really said, okay, we want to be a little bit higher in seating than the normal compact class, but still we don't want to go all the way crossover with this car, because that one is actually still to come with the QX30, where they go really crossover all the way then. About the visibility while driving, you know, there's this very dramatic exterior, and is it still possible to have a good visibility then to all of the sides? Well, front and side, that's pretty much okay. Front, right, well, yeah, it's a little bit limited by the C-pillar then, but to the back again, although we have a kind of flat rear window, that's also still quite okay. So I think you can live with that definitely from overview wise, although you have this rather dramatic exterior. That's actually also no problem. So, if you ask me, is it also a good motorway car? Well, it is actually quite suitable for that one. So no problem, you do not necessarily need a higher or bigger class car just to go on some proper Autobahn riding then. So that actually works quite fine. But we'll soon also get to some countryside roads where we can then better test the performance, because that one is actually then even more interesting with this kind of car, of course then. Sound insulation, by the way, improved a little bit now, because it actually was a quite loud surf at the very beginning. So now it's actually better, but this is, I must say, is still a difference if you pick a mid-size sedan, for example. There you feel that they could even have a little bit more budget than for the sound insulation. So that is still a little bit of a difference, but not that loud that you feel disturbed in any kind of way or something like that. From the driving modes, by the way, we also have a manual driving mode. Then I can use the shifting pedals, for example, also now for shifting down. If you wanted even more sport, even more manual control of the car, so that's also possible. Another good thing that they could take the Mercedes parts bin is, for example, the turning indicators when you use them while driving. It's always a good quality feeling, and you know, we recently had it, for example, also in Aston Martin, where you had, you know, a super expensive car, but the turning indicators were like feeling like rubbish. And you see, that is also, those details are really all what premium cars are about. Every detail has to be right in this case. In other words, what you also realize while driving is this asymmetric building of the interior, and I think that is really just a matter of taste, because when you're driving, most of the car you see is really from the interior. And I think I found it quite pleasing that it's something different here. You don't have this classic, rather Germanish style layout where you have a lot of symmetric forms. Here you really have this asymmetric style where it's just something different for the eye than to see that as well. So let's now go a little bit faster again here in the corner, and although I said the car is a little bit higher, it does give you enough support from the suspension, so I think they have found a good compromise here. What else is there about to say with the sport version? Oh, nice. You see, it's actually fun to do some menu shifting then. Shifting down again with the shifting pedals. Very nice fun in riding with the manual mode. Especially when you're changing motorways here now, that's a good test for that one. And you maybe also heard the engine was screaming a little bit more. So sporty driving is possible, especially in the S version. Because with the S version, what is actually remarkable, you have sport suspension included also in the premium version. So the riding is a little bit firmer. Would I actually go for the more comfortable ride? Maybe if I, prefer a calm riding style and keep it to the city. But if you quite often go into country roads, nice performance. Then it's also good to have the little bit sportier ride, because it also feels quite good, and especially when you're going at higher speeds, you get more support than on the road, especially for example here now on the motorway. Right, now to our countryside part. Let's go into the sport mode. Let's see what this baby can do. So really steep corners. I see I don't have to correct a lot with the steering wheel. That's good. Then you've kind of very fast forget that this car sits a little bit higher, because it offers you enough support still from the suspension. Yeah, especially in the low speed regions, this small turbo engine really does a very well job. When you're going on the motorway from like 100 to 130, then it starts to get a little bit, not too powerful, but especially here in this region, about 40 kilometers, 50, 70, that is actually very good. Yeah, thank you very much, GPS. And especially for those very tight corners, this compact car really plays an effect with the short wheelbase as well, that it helps you to get agile, and also has an advantage in comparison to the mid-size sedan then, because it's more agile, especially in those very tight corners than with the shorter wheelbase. Let's see. You can have a little bit more challenge. By the way, the sport seats offer good side support here now when I really need it. Really ride to enjoy it, definitely. So overall, suspension, steering setup with the engine, I can really recommend it also in this calibration here. However, the 2.2 liter diesel will also be power-wise and acceleration-wise kind of the same. But then again, it's a question if you're more like this diesel or this petrol engine type. And I think for this light compact car, the petrol engine is the more suitable one, as you can also see here. Yeah, in some situation, you feel again what I said earlier, that the steering wheel could be a little bit more progressive. That would help in faster corners then. If I compare it now to the A250 Sport, the A-Class has the advantage that you can set the suspension also in an adaptive way then. And, that helps you to spread this kind of comfort to sport. Here they had to go for the compromise to have one standard setting with a little sport suspension, but that doesn't leave you the big flexibility as you have with the A-Class in the higher trim level as well, when you have the dynamic drive select. But I think you will get along with it quite well. This is, by the way, the warning when the car is in front of me, because the automatic collision warner is also from the zero equipment with this car, and thank you very much. That's a really good step, because I really say every car should have had that one included right now. That you have, first of all, visual warning here inside the instrument, that you also have the acoustic warning, as we've just heard, and also that in the very emergency case that the autonomous braking is being done, and that is the case here with this car. Not every car has it so far. It's good that Infiniti keeps this scheme that also Mercedes is following, and for example also Volvo is doing that. Every car has at least this function from the standard setup. The adaptive cruise control, however, is the optional part then. So now we're getting to a more free part again. The big old, what is it actually? Is it an old Toyota or something like that in front of us? Maybe we can overtake that one, and we can also see how the overtaking process is actually working with that engine. We can also use some of the manual pedals here. Not really the possibility yet. Also, when you ride yourself, even in sporty cars, you know, security first. That's also always important. It's fun to use the shifting pedals, especially when you shift down. RPMs go higher a little bit. That's always a nice feeling. Let's see where we can find security. Well, he's leaving the road. Very good choice. Let's go. Using the shift pedals now, second gear. Very nice. I think you also get something from the sound. You really can have a lot of fun, although it has with a higher ride already included. Really looking forward also how that one will be with the QX30. That one won't have this sporty riding, and I guess it's more about the comfort. And you have to think about how often do you do sporty riding in your everyday riding, and how often do you rather rely on the comfortable one. And that always is about your personal car choice then. Now just another hop to another day for a short test ride with a 2.2 liter diesel. I told you earlier this one has the active noise cancellation. And indeed you don't really hear it's a diesel. Maybe just when you're on a standstill and have just started the engine. But then when you turn up the RPMs, it strangely sounds, well, not quite like a diesel. Let's shift down. Third gear. Very silent actually, so it's a very interesting concept with active noise cancellation, and I didn't hear it before that it was used. Okay, we use the sound actuators that stress the boost sound for a petrol engine, but not that really the diesel sound. It's a little bit reduced by the active noise cancellation, like you have with some headphones, for example. That's also quite interesting. The 2.2 liter diesel also has quite some power actually, because the diesels usually have a little bit more of torque then. So this would actually be also a good choice if you more like the performance style of the engine. The big engine here, again from Daimler, the smaller diesel that is available, 1.5 liter diesel, that is the one that is coming from Nissan. Of course, the diesel is less fuel consuming, but for a compact car, it really depends on how far you're actually going, how much kilometers you're doing per year. This one is also the premium equipment, so not the sport equipment. There's also a little bit of the stiffer suspension here, but there isn't really a difference then to the sport version, suspension-wise. I am sitting on those comfort seats now, and as I've told you earlier, for the shoulders for a tall man, actually that's actually better. It feels just better when sitting inside the seat to have a little bit more space around the shoulders, especially as we're not really in a sports car. So that's also not that important that we have such a great shoulder support then. So you do have actually a good power reserve. Maybe it feels even a little bit more evolved than the turbo engine, because the RPMs don't go that high. So that diesel here offers you, let's say, an even calmer riding as for using the RPMs. Again, good steering here. That's of course the same then. it's rainy today, about all-wheel drive or not all-wheel drive. This one is also available with the all-wheel drive. And now as we're standing still, then I feel it's a diesel. It's a little bit rattling here. Let's change the mode maybe. Maybe go into neutral. Yeah, then that's strange. When you're in a neutral, it's really kind of silent, but when you're in D mode, let's go to D mode again. You feel a little bit of vibrating into in the brake pedal. That's a little bit strange then. So let's accelerate a little bit harder. Going uphill to the motorway now. When we change onto the motorway, then it's interesting if it's suitable for that actually, or for some overtaking process. Let's see, let's for example go from 60 to 90, hammering now. And that's it. Yeah, especially in these low speed regions, the petrol turbo engine has a little bit better performance for sure. But this diesel is actually also a good motorway engine, definitely. I'm not sure if the small diesel will be enough for the torque. Depends on your needs. If you just go inside the city, maybe. But then if you just go inside the city, it's questionable again if you really need a diesel. So that's I think the thing. But in general, diesel is indeed very silent. So you have to be very aware if you ride in the petrol or the diesel engine. And I think it generally speaks also for the diesel and for the noise cancellation process. So both engines are driven so far, were actually quite good. We also have the combination to the 7-speed dual clutch transmission here. And that one worked very fine as well so far. Maybe if you're in the D mode, sometimes the RPMs go a little bit too low, but then you can also go into the sport mode, then usually shift one down. To think about the so-called diesel sound, it really doesn't sound that much like a diesel. Let's look at the consumption so far. But we've just started with this diesel. It says also 10 liters now, but that's just some kilometers. When we're going on the motorway now and have a more relaxing drive for the engine, that should actually then bring down the consumption even more, because usually when you're going a lot of kilometers on the motorway at a fixed speed, turning on the, I would say, Distronic Plus now, as it's called on Mercedes, because here we got the adaptive cruise control. You see it in the central screen, it's the same one that Mercedes is using, so that one is the best on the market, alongside with the Volvo system, which is also working flawlessly, because these systems also adapt to your steering. That means, for example, when I change the lanes now, the sensors are not looking straight ahead. The sensors are also concentrating where I'm actually steering, and so it doesn't happen that you, for example, you're overtaking, and then the adaptive cruise control just brakes the car because someone is in front of you, although you are changing the lane. And that's also a very important thing then. You also got the blind spot warner. You maybe heard that one also from an acoustic side. And we have the blind spot warners on each mirrors. It's also a very important safety system. That one, however, is also optional. So now we're going down here. Let's see if the consumption already went down. I think so. In the middle of the screen, I always have commands also how fast I can actually go, because the traffic signs are red then and also displayed here. That's also again a very good thing. However, I've told you earlier, the GPS itself, I would there actually also prefer the Mercedes software, definitely. So, and maybe when I drove the car a little bit longer, I can also tell you something about the diesel consumption. You can always ask me something about that, by the way, in the comments, when we didn't have time to put that on the video still, but maybe rode the car 2 or 3 hours more than during that day, then we can also answer that one in the comments. For example, about diesel consumption. I expect it, as the petrol engine is about 9-10 liters, I expect the diesel to end up with about 7 to 8 liters on 100 kilometers. Now the conclusion on the all-new Infiniti Q30. I think it was one of the most interesting reviews we did so far because, well, it's an all-new car. It's the first time for this manufacturers to go into this segment, and especially the compact premium segment is on the surge, as I've told you, and therefore it's a very significant car. And the question is really, is Infiniti actually able to get a big success now worldwide with this car? Because so far, I mean, in the US, they're doing very, very good, very well, and especially in Germany, really tough market for them. And so far, you know, only 6 dealers in Germany so far, and they do this separate dealer strategy. They don't want to mix it up with the Nissan dealers. They really want to have it separately to also get another customer experience. And this one will especially be crucial for Europe, and I really look forward to that, how the sales figure will actually develop in there. As for my verdict, I mean, the exterior is really stunning, something so unique. I think most unique car from the exterior in the compact segment. And I find it also quite beautiful, especially now here in the spectacular sports version. As for the interior, from the quality, I think even a little bit better than with the Mercedes A-Class. Even more worthy, especially here in the sports version, where we have a lot of Alcantara surfaces used on the dashboard and also the great surface mix from the seats. Just from the riding comfort, I would usually go for the standard seats, just from the form that you have a lot of more space at the back. But in general, really stunning interior. Just not the software of the multimedia system. I was not really satisfied with that, but everything visually definitely very good. Also from the technology part, yes, they really profit from the Mercedes corporation there. Of course, Mercedes also gains money because they buy the engines and the powertrain. But there again, as we already know, you can check out the A-Class facelift video. It's linked in the video description as well. The dual clutch transmission works really perfectly fine. The 2-liter turbo is also a very good engine. Also the other engines that are available, you won't make any mistake with that one, especially not the 2.2-liter diesel. And so it's a really good lineup they have there. It was actually, I think, a very good solution that they could actually do this cooperation and add something more to it even to make it more unique. So I want to hear your opinion on that car here now, on the exterior, interior, and also on the driving experience, especially also about the concept that we sit a little bit higher. And soon then we'll also see the QX30, and that one will be way higher and a real crossover then. And that one will especially be also for the Northern American market, then might be a big sales figure happening there then. So I think it was a very interesting review today. I really enjoyed doing that with you guys together, and I hope we'll see us at the next Autogefühl episode with Thomas. Thanks for watching.